Dr. Mohammed Khalid, and I'm the interim chair of the Civilian Complaint Review Board. I would like to call the CCRB October Public Board meeting to an order. Thank you for joining us. Would you, the board member, please introduce yourself on the right?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joseph Puma. I'm the Manhattan City Council representative to the board. I hail from the Lower East Side.
Good afternoon, Rahul Agrawal, mayoral rep, live in Brooklyn.
Frank Dwyer, I'm a police commissioner designee.
Herman Merritt, City Council designate from Brooklyn.
Northern, appointee from Brooklyn.
John Darsh, I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the executive director of the CCRB.
Good afternoon, I'm Shireen Crawford. I'm a mayoral appointee.
Good afternoon, A.U. Hogan, City Council designee, coming out of the Queens.
John Siegel, mayoral appointee.
Hi, Joe Fox, PC designee.
Anybody else on the screen, any board member?
No, this is everyone.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes. Are there any changes or correction to the September meeting? Is there a motion to approve the September minutes if there's no changes? I have a second.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? The minutes are approved. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Mohammed Khalid, and I'm the interim chair of the Civilian Complaint Review Board. Last month, I had the privilege of testifying before New York City Council Committee on Public Safety to discuss the state of police oversight. In my testimony, I said that it is the CCRB duty to be leader in the national conversation on the police oversight. I fully believe this. This conversation is often difficult and complex, especially in the era of social media. People on all sides feel very strongly about this issue. But leadership means working together to build trust. It means building bridges, even with people we may disagree with. It means listening to the people with different perspectives to find areas where we do agree. It means working on behalf of the community we serve. I'm proud of our work here at the CCRB, and I am proud of how seriously each of us make our commitment to impartially following the law, investigating the facts, and working for all New Yorkers. I'm confident that I speak for every one of the board when I say this. At this time, I will turn over to our Executive Director, John Darsh. John.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid. As Dr. Khalid said, building bridges within our community is important, but it is also important to connect with our peers across the state and country. Recently, I was fortunate enough to join the 2025 New York Statewide Oversight Consortium, hosted by the Rochester Police Accountability Board. This event featured representatives from throughout New York State, all of whom work in the area of police accountability. Even though we are spread far from one another, gatherings like this one, though virtual, show that we are not isolated and we are all part of the same larger work. Additionally, I will be traveling to Minneapolis shortly to gather with other leaders in the police oversight sector for the annual conference of the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, or NACOL. It is vital for those of us who work on these issues across the country to come together, to share our ideas, experiences, and insights with one another. NACOL gives us this opportunity. As the largest civilian oversight agency in the nation, we at the CCRB have a responsibility to lead, just as Dr. Khalid said a moment ago. To that end, I'll be presenting at the conference, discussing some of the challenges that face civilian oversight at the national level, in the courts, in state houses, in Washington, D.C. While I'm pleased to lead this discussion, I'm most looking forward to listening to what our peers have to say about their work. That is really my favorite part of the conference is when we learn from one another, it makes us all stronger. As a reminder, our office is open for walk-in complaints, but it is also possible to file complaints online at nyc.gov/CCRB complaint, by telephone at 1-800-341-2272, by dialing 311, or by tagging the agency on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. For those wishing to speak during the public comment section of today's meeting, we ask that you keep your questions and comments to 4 minutes. If anyone wishes to file a complaint right now, we have 2 investigators on hand ready to take any new complaints. The investigators on call this afternoon are Emma Stidehar and Rob Ryan. Amy O'Sullivan is also here from the Civilian Assistance Unit. Thank you all for your presence here today, and we'll now move on to our board's formal business.
Any board member has any questions? The next is presentation from Jahi Rose of the Outreach Unit. Jahi.
I'm Jahai Rose. I'm the Director of Public Engagement and Partnerships here at the Civilian Complaint Review Board. Just going to give a brief overview of what the agency does. The Civilian Complaint Review Board is the nation's largest civilian entity or oversight entity over the largest police department in the country. The CCRB investigates, mediates, and in some cases administratively prosecutes allegations of misconduct alleged against members of the New York City Police Department. The agency is governed by a 15-member board, some of which you see on the dais today. 5 are appointed by the New York City Mayor. 5 are appointed by the New York City Council. 3 are appointed by the New York City Police Commissioner. 1 is appointed by the public advocate, and the chair is jointly appointed by the New York City Council and the mayor. The CCRB can investigate allegations of force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, and offensive language. Now, there are various ways to file complaints about police misconduct, as you may have heard from our executive director. 2 of the easiest ways are by filing the complaint online at nyc.gov/CCRB complaint. The other one is by calling the CCRB's hotline, 1-800-341-CCRB or 1-800-341-2272. Remember, if you see footage of misconduct on social media or in news media, you can feel free to file a complaint, even if you are not there in person. Also visit the CCRB's headquarters at 100 Church Street on the 10th floor in Lower Manhattan. You could also direct message the CCRB on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, or X, and Instagram. You could also send a letter to the CCRB at 100 Church Street, 10th floor, New York, zip code 10007. You could also file a complaint at a precinct. It does not have to be the precinct or in the confines of the precinct where the encounter may have taken place. And police officers are required to take those complaints in the precinct house. They could also offer you a self-addressed envelope and a complaint form, and you could mail those directly to the CCRB. In the event you'd like to request an outreach presentation to learn more about the CCRB, you could send us an email at outreach@ccrb.nyc.gov. Feel free to follow us on our social media platforms, that's Instagram, Twitter, or X, and Facebook. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, John. Any member has any questions? Any problems? If none, we'll move on to public comments. We'll now enter the public comment portion of the meeting. We'll begin with those joining us virtually who would like to make a comment, followed by those who are joining us in person. For those joining virtually, please use the raise your hand feature. Please keep your comment to 4 minutes. Valeria, would you please call on the first person?
Thank you, Chair. I just want to give folks just one more minute. No one has raised their hand just yet. It appears no one online would like to make a comment, so you can proceed to in-person.
This concludes the virtual comment. And for those joining in person or interested in making a public comment, please line up behind the podium. Please keep your comment to 4 minutes. Mr. Michael Myers.
Thank you very much. I'm Michael Myers, President of New York Civil Rights Coalition. I'm going to hold my comments to 4 minutes, no more, maybe less. First of all, Dr. Khalid, I'm distressed that you still have interim chair on your title. And I don't know how much time has to pass before this mayor or the next mayor makes you a permanent chair. So I just want to make for a record. I think you are a great person. You're a wonderful person. You're a good chair, good enough to be chair, not interim chair, not temporary chair. Secondly, I've asked so many times this question. Have we yet scheduled a meeting, we meaning you, the board of the Preventing Complaint Review Board, schedule a meeting with the police commission that will be public so that we can see her and hear from her, eyeball her. When is that going to happen? I told you many months ago, she was the one who said she knew the executive director, she knew the members of the board of CCRB, and she would love, I'm paraphrasing, she would love to come to a meeting of the board of the Civil Review Board. But she hasn't come here all these months later. Her term is almost up because there's going to be a new mayor soon, who, despite what he says or claims, I doubt, really doubt, he's going to appoint her to be the continuing police commissioner. Now, in showing your report, Mr. Executive Director, there's something I seem to be missing because I don't see it. It may be in here, but in terms of your stats and all that other stuff, do we know what the rates of the officers are and the race of the, I call them victims, the rate of the complainant are in all these stats that you put? I don't see any. What's the race of the officer? I want to know how many black officers are abusers. I want to know how many white officers are abusers. I want to know how many Hispanic officers are abusers. I want to know how many Asian officers are abusers. And if they're abusers or harassing or whatever the charge is, against whom are they doing injustice? I want to know the race of these people. And because that says a lot. If black, for example, officers are just as bad as white officers, or if Asian officers are just as bad as Hispanic officers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would appreciate it if we would start putting the stuff in writing by race. We know this. That's why we measure progress or lack of progress. I also see at the board's decision on was made too close to one of these asterisks or footnotes. The board's decision was made too close to the expiration date for the police commissioner to take any action against an officer. I don't know what that means. What does too close mean to the expiration date? If you beat the deadline, what does it mean on the part of the police commissioner who doesn't do anything about it? What does too close mean? That needs to be specified, made clear in the reports. And if it's too close for the police commissioner to take action, too close, whatever that means, whose decision is that? Is that the police commissioner's decision? That you took too long to bring her recommendation? Is that her decision? Or if it's her man, his decision? Too close doesn't make any sense to me. I want to know specifically what that means. Finally, page 38. No disciplinary action was taken against a police officer for failure or refusal, to use your word, refusal to process a civilian complaint. No action other than training, formalized training. I thought police officers were already trained. How much training do they need? How much reminders do they need? How much accountability must be enforced and oversight provided to these police officers who don't know when somebody comes to a police officer, police precinct, or wherever they come, and to make a complaint against a police officer, that they're supposed to take the complaint? How much does that take for a human being to understand that there's a problem here, and I better jot it down before my butt gets into trouble? And so that's not rocket science. That's just plain, simple procedure. And so I'm disappointed to read in your report that these are question marks, and not enough answers.
Thank you, Mr. White. Anybody next?
Hi, my name is Nick Pinto. I'm a reporter at Hellgate, and I wrote a story a few weeks ago about how the board handles untrue statements complaints. You allegations, I guess their term. And at the time that I wrote the story, the board's press office wasn't able to answer several of my questions. So a few weeks have passed, and I just wanted to pose them again in case you were more able to do that. And so broadly, the two questions are, one was, I reported that the board is overturning allegations of untrue statements when staff investigators bring that charge against an officer. The board is overturning that recommendation at about twice the rate that it overturns other kinds of allegations. And so I'm curious to hear from board members or from staff about what might account for that elevated rate. And then the other question is sort of a technical one, which is that in the public-facing data of the board, this information is not visible because, for reasons that I have not been able to determine, but I'd love to hear from you guys. Allegations are categorically misclassified in the open data portal as abuse of authority allegations. And so if a member of the public were to look at this information and wonder how many times the board is overturning recommendations for substantiated allegations, they would find that they would think that the answer is 0, which is obviously not the case. So is there some sort of technical explanation for that, or how did that come to be? Those are my two questions. Thank you.
Dr. Cleed, is it okay if I
Yes,
answer
yes,
these questions?
John, yeah.
Thank you. So the board speaks for this agency on whether or not misconduct occurred. So an investigator making a recommendation is something that happens all the time, and then the board reviews them and makes the final determination. And the board makes its determination of a case based on the facts and the law as the board interprets it. They speak for the agency. This agency has substantiated 200 allegations of untruthful statements by police officers since untruthful statements became a part of the agency's jurisdiction. So it is not, I don't want to paint the writer of an article with the writer of the headline, but I don't think it is I don't think it was fair to say that the agency was not treating untruthful statement allegations seriously when we have substantiated not over exactly, as the last time I checked, 200 allegations since they were in our jurisdiction. there's certain data that we only release pursuant to FOIA. There are, and then the information on whether or not the allegation was put or not was properly put in open data. So that whether or not the allegation, the recommendation was substantiated and then not substantiated by the board was accurately reported. So it wasn't misreported. How the agency characterizes certain allegation types that could be very prejudicial to a person when they are not substantiated is why that is listed as abuse. And so those are the reasons for the discrepancy that you noted. It was not a desire to hide the rate at which the board follows or doesn't follow an investigator recommendation. It was merely done for certain, for that allegation type, because it is very prejudicial to the character of the office. If we get a FOIL request from a DA's office or another party, we do not change the characterization. We put it as an untruthful statement, so it's available so that no one who is in a criminal trial has their rights impacted and everything can be properly investigated and prosecuted. But for the purposes of what we report, so that people can be aware of the misconduct that has been reviewed and substantiated by this board, it is all done. Are there 4 minutes up? Sure.
So I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying for this precise category of accusation, but not for any other categories of accusations. When the allegation is not substantiated, it's deemed
Untruthful statement,
right.
sexual misconduct,
Okay.
racial profiling. I think those are there may be another one, but those are the 3
Okay.
very prejudicial to someone's character.
I see.
Just
There's a category of allegations that are deemed more prejudicial to an officer's character, and for the though the underlying documents remain available under FOIL, the publicly reported data sort of recategorizes them in a way that wouldn't be prejudicial to
The individual officer, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Myers, I will look up the answers to your questions and I'll get back. I will look it up.
We'll look into that, Mr. Mayor. Anybody else wants to say something? If none, then we'll go into the old business. Do you have any old business to come before the board? Is there any new business? We'll be adjourning to the executive session. Hearing none, I'm going to move now that we break into executive session. The agenda for the executive session is the executive director will consider one full board case, discuss pending personnel action, and the general counsel will provide update regarding pending litigation. Is there a motion to adjourn the executive session? For me. Second. This meeting is now adjourned for the executive session. Thank you all.
Dr. Lee, you've done very good.